and to speak of him. And I have exactly a message. So, we keep asking this question. The caterpillar asked Alice, "Who are you?" Are you Israel? Yes. It's the key. If you're not, I want to tell you how you can get to be one. To be Israel. It's easy. It has rules. Yahweh, open our eyes that we might see wonders from your word. The restoration of Israel is exactly what this ministry, Yeshua Sabbath Church, is all about. I represent Restoration Ministries that has married up with YSC. That's what we're all about. It's the only thing that we teach because it is about Yeshua. It's what he's for. All right, we got to do some historical stuff again. Back in Genesis, like chapter 15 or so, Yahweh makes a physical, actual covenant with Abraham. It's a blood covenant. If you want to find out about the kind of covenant, look up Suzerain. See, I don't even know how to pronounce it, so how are you going to spell it? Look up that kind of a covenant, because that's what this is. He makes a covenant with Abraham. It's a physical blood covenant with Abraham. Now, if you read that story, Abraham doesn't walk through the animals because he really couldn't do that. But Yahweh does. So he is committed to the covenant he makes with Abraham. Yahweh promises to Abraham physical seed, descendants, that is, to Abraham. Children. Children are physical. There's a whole bunch of them right back there. They are physical kids sitting there. He promises physical land to Abraham and the descendants. The word spiritual never appears ever in the discussion. It is neither said nor implied. The promise is for real, physical descendants and land. And the covenant continues from Abraham, it goes to Isaac, his son, and it goes to Jacob. Isaac has one son, that's Jacob, and the covenant passes through him. Jacob has 12 sons, and the covenant passes through them. Jacob gives each of his sons, that's what we read this last week, an equal blessing, but to his favorite son Joseph he gives a double blessing. Now he couldn't do that to Joseph himself. Say, all right, I'm giving you 2 times what all they got, because that wouldn't be fair or right. So he does it through the 2 sons of Joseph. And he does this by adopting them. Physically, actually. No spiritual adoption. Okay, there's the 12 sons. They will continue in the covenant blessing from Yahweh that was given to Abraham. They will keep it going. They will have sons, daughters, and increase exceedingly. They will have, in 400 years, a bunch of kids. They're going to go from 70 in Egypt to 400, in 400 years to 3 million, about? Well, 600,000 that are counted, but then that ain't counting the children, the wives, the daughter, all that stuff. It's a lot of kids. And they will inherit the physical land of Israel. It's defined. Yahweh calls it out. He says it's from here to here to here to here, and that's found in Genesis. There is no spiritual blessing. It's physical seed, physical land. Here's your deal. You want to be Israel, you are either Israel by blood, which is possible, probable even, or you adopt in. So how do you do that? When someone is adopted into Israel, they are no longer of the previous state. They were non-Israel, they become Israel. Understand. They're no longer Egyptian, like Ephraim and Manasseh were. They are Israel. Once Jacob did the thing with the crossed hands on the two boys, bingo, they became Israel. And he called them that. That's adoption. It's physical and complete and like pretty much forever. They're no longer subject to the former self, but they are subject to Israel. If they were Egyptians, they're no longer subject to Egyptian rules. Religion, belief system, gods, and they had a bunch of them. They're just not there. That's not their thing anymore. It's been relieved from them. They are now completely under Israel. They no longer receive the blessings and curses of their former self. Think about that. But they're eligible for the blessings and the curses that are promised to Israel. Everybody wants to get the blessing. Blessing, 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 blessing. Blessings are based on an if-then statement. If you do this, you will receive this, that. They're not, okay, you're Israel, you just get all this stuff and there are no curses. Nobody takes away the curses. They are there if you fail to follow the rules. And they also no longer act like their former self, but they now act like Israel. The two boys no longer acted like Egyptians. They acted like Israelites. That means they stopped dressing like Egyptians, and they grew beards. Well, maybe if they were like little, they probably didn't do a very good job. And they dressed like them. They became it. They went and lived in the households of the Israelites and did things Israelites do. An Israelite gives up, rejects, and abandons their old ways and takes up the new ways. Now, I'm putting this here for the Gentiles who want to be Gentiles and are watching this thing and are saying, but I don't have to do that. If you want to be Israel, you have to give up the old ways. By the way, Paul says so. Now think this way. They are no longer lawless. They're no longer under the law of lawlessness. It's kind of like a not Torah or an anti-Torah, or they're no longer under that. And that thing is the law of sin and death. They're no longer eligible for the law of sin and death. They're now under the law of freedom through the law. I said that right. The law of the Torah is freedom from the law of death. Duh. And the Torah belongs to Yahweh, not the man-made rules and regulations of the Jews or of the Christian church. Those will lead to death. Well, they'll lead you crazy. Some of them will. The law of the Torah of Yahweh, understand the law of the Torah of Yahweh, have to lead to life, freedom. Now, this is going to bum you out. If you're a Gentile and you want to stay that way, there is no Gentile covenant. None. The covenant that Yahweh made with Abraham does not include anybody but him and his seed. It does. The text leaves out all of the Gentile nations, and Yahweh knew the Gentile nations were there. It doesn't include the former self, the former nations that Abraham belonged to. They were Gentiles, pagans, idolaters. It did not include them. It includes only Abraham's physical seed and those that have actually adopted into the physical seed. Now check this out, if you don't believe me. In Revelation 21:12, you can look that up. It's in the book. It's in the back of the book. It's in the New Testament. It says, of all of those born-again people that are planning on having everlasting life, there's 12 gates to the city. You can't climb up over the wall or try to dig your way underneath. You got to go through a gate. The gates are of the 12 tribes of Israel. There is no Gentile gate. There is no Christian gate. There is no Gentile Christian gate. There's no saved Gentile gate to the city. There's also no Jew-only gate. There's a Judah gate. There's none of them other things. There's no, all of those other wacky religions, they are excluded completely. Only one of the tribes is entering. That's going to be a bit of a problem. They have to go through one of the 12 tribes. They must go in through Israel. They got to be Israel. They must be, I just said that. They must be Israel. It has to be. Now, this is a problem. This is semantics, words. Words mess us up. Jews equal Israel. In the Christian church, if you use the word Israel, they immediately think that means all of those Jews that are living in the land of Israel. Israel is the tribe of Judah consisting of 1/12 of all of Israel. They are not Israel. They're a part of Israel. Get that clearly understood. Matter of fact, a couple weeks back, discussion on Facebook, several of us witnessed that. From a man, a committed Christian man, who has no clue who Israel is. Now you read, well, I don't want to go there. Come on Wednesday, you'll find out some more about that. The promised new covenant of Jeremiah 31, or Hebrews 8, talks about Yahweh cutting a covenant with, you can read it, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It doesn't mention cutting one with Gentiles or Christians. The covenant is only with the house of Israel, the house of Judah. The house of Judah is, well, we'll find out from Dave. Yeshua himself even promised his disciples a millennial rule over 12 verifiable and recognizable tribes of regathered millennial Israel, people, not spiritual entities. Physical people. You cannot have a reign over a mass of ghosts. Yahweh's reign is over people. All right. How does this work? A simple explanation. I want to make this easy to understand. How do you become Israel? Isaiah 58 is pretty good. It kind of tells us what's going on. It opens up with this long paragraph where Yahweh says, guard right ruling, do righteousness, for near is my salvation or deliverance to come. My righteousness is to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who becomes strong in it, guarding the Sabbath, lest he profane it, and guarding his hand from doing evil. 1, what is evil? 2, 1a, what is sin? Disobeying the Torah is evil, is sin. What are the Sabbaths? That's easy. You just keep coming here. And in verse 3 it says, let not the son of a foreigner who has joined himself to Yahweh speak and say, Yahweh has separated me from his people. And then it says something about a eunuch and a dry tree. We'll get to the eunuch thing. All right. The word stranger that's used there is nakar, and it means just what it says, stranger, foreigner, Gentile. And it's a non-Israelite. But remember, the verse says, who joined themselves to. In fact, they can't call themselves stranger anymore, because once they join themselves to, they're no longer strangers. They're Israel. So they can change their name tag, rip it off, and put Israel. Oops, Israel on this side, and then they got their name on the other side. Those of us that were in the Army, U.S. Army, our name on the other side. We knew who we were and who we belonged to. Okay, nakar comes from a verb, nikar, and it means to be recognized and to become known. Whoa. I thought stranger or foreigner meant, you're out. The stranger is a person that is to be, it will be recognized by Yahweh as one of his own. So it's kind of a special class of Gentile. He's going to possess the title Gentile for a short period of time. And it's also similar to the word nakar, meaning to distinguish, well, also to undistinguish or to fail to know. So it's he's no longer a Gentile. He's kind of one more step and he becomes Israel, Gentile, if you will, okay? The stranger has joined himself to Yahweh, but he thinks he's an outsider. Now, if you go to Christian church, you're going to be told all kinds of stuff, and you're going to get the idea, well, I'm not a part of Israel because I'm not Jewish, or I have to be Jewish, or whatever. And the Jews say, if you want to be Israel, you have to be circumcised and go through all this kind of stuff that we've made up. It's for real. What was the whole deal in Acts chapter 15 about? The Judaizers, which were they were believing Jews who had come to a knowledge of Yeshua the Messiah. And they said the only way you can do that is to be a Jew. To these Gentile people, say, you got to get circumcised, and you got to do this other, and go down, and you got to go through this procedure and become a Jew. And they're going to ask, The circumcised? Nope. Don't want to be a part. They were wrong. The Judaizers had nothing to do. They were wrong. And James, whose real name is Yaakov, said so in Acts 15:21. You go to synagogue every Sabbath. Keep going. After a while, you'll get it. You'll be studying Torah and stuff, and you'll have an idea what's going on. Don't worry about it. Learn about it. Isaiah 56, 6 through 8. I'll read the whole thing. The sons of a foreigner who join themselves to Yahweh, we just talked about who that is, to serve him and to love the name of, to be his servants, all who guard the Sabbath and not profane it, and are holding on to his covenant, them I shall bring to my set-apart mountain, and let them rejoice in my house of prayer. Their ascending offerings and their slaughterings, in other words, your gifts, are accepted on my altar, for my house is called a house of prayer for all of the people. And Yeshua said that. My house is a house of prayer. Yes. And he chased out those that had turned it into something else. The son of the foreigner who is honoring the Sabbath, in other words, he's not involved in that commerce stuff. I like this part, though. To serve him and to love the name of Yahweh. Now, you're going to hear on Wednesday that this is very critical. To love the name of Yahweh is love him. You cannot love somebody unless you know their name. Try it. Call your wife another name. There will be bodies falling. Let the bodies hit the floor. They will be everywhere. And there's no escape from the wrath of a woman. It will not happen. So, the name is important. Okay, where am I at here? Let's talk about the stranger. Here's the deal. They have joined themselves to Yahweh. All they have to do is say, I am joining myself to you, Yahweh. Now, they can do that by a public confession of faith. That's that whole altar thing. That's fine. That's wonderful. You can do it by a sinner's prayer. That's fine. That's wonderful. But the key is they got to join themselves to Yahweh, which means you don't unjoin yourself. They serve him to be his servants. They love his name, and they use his name. They keep the Sabbath, and they do not pollute it. And they take hold of his covenant.